Hi guys, it's Holly here at Faces. Welcome back to the Face It podcast. Today I am here with some wonderful ladies. This is going to be a little bit of a different podcast today, in light of the regulations and the government announcements. So here I am joined with Natasha Gordana Murray from EQlibrum, Leana Bernot from PureLine, Lauren Davies from Elysian by Lauren, and Rachel Clements from RavenZara Aesthetics and Beauty. All of these ladies are part of PAPA, which is Professional Aesthetic Practitioners Association. We are going to talk a little bit about what they stand for, what PAPA is, how you can get involved, but more importantly, have a general discussion around regulation. Obviously, it's such a hot topic at the moment. I think there's a lot of people that are very confused, very unsure, feeling very anxious, which is completely understandable. But we want to provide a voice for you guys, really. And yeah, just be a support. And of course, these ladies will all be there to answer your questions and things as well once this has been posted. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me. Do you want to just give us a bit of background as to how PAPA came about and your backgrounds as well, just so I've got a feel for where we're going with this?
So I started a group on Facebook about 2 years ago. I have numerous groups on Facebook. 50% of some of them are nurses as well as aesthetic practitioners. So I started the group because I actually saw that this would come about, that we would have to fight for our future, really. And sure enough, it's come about. So when the consultation paper was released, I actually started to reactivate the group and try to get people on board. And actually, in the last 3 weeks, I think the others would agree that it's just taken off phenomenally. We have got so much support. We have done so much. We formed a company. We've got chair people. We have, people helping us from all over the aesthetics industry. And I think the others would agree that it's been quite amazing how quickly we've come together. And we have actually been working on this non-stop behind the scenes. I mean, I've been doing this 12 hours a day. It's been crazy.
I've always followed Rachel's other online Facebook groups for general support, medic, non-medic, all interacting, really well, giving each other day-to-day advice on, anything from complications to general support training, etc., etc. And I think as soon as I realised also what was happening, because I was a little bit in the dark, I'll be honest, I don't have the knowledge that Rachel has had behind the scenes on this. But as soon as it kind of came to the attention on that support group that I was on, my first concern was, this is going to be huge. There are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people that know nothing about this. So I guess PAPA was kind of born and bred really from just a team of us, and we are literally muddling through this day to day. Honestly, the work that goes into this in the admin groups is phenomenal. We have got people pulling resources. The things that we are uncovering they're alarming. They are really alarming. Some of the stuff that we're finding out there about these people, the JCCP, they talk about equality, fairness, all of these things. And the stuff that we are finding is the total opposite of, their general core values, as we say. We are digging things apart, finding some really alarming stuff. We are just a team of people that are looking to have a voice for non-medics, because that is something that is just not out there. And the JCCP ultimately drive this with patient safety, yet the general public have had no involvement, or little, certainly, no involvement in this whole process whatsoever.
Yeah. I also think that we have to mention that they're saying that this is patient safety, but really it should be about good practice versus bad practice, because actually, there is so much propaganda going on at the moment, and it's not a level playing field, because these companies, the JCCP, SafeFace, they have such a financial interest, and the companies that are supporting them have such a financial interest. They're putting this, they're paying to put their propaganda out there. And it's giving a very unfair view of aesthetic practitioners. The general public see an article in the newspaper that says illegal Botox, bad thread lift, and they initially think that this is what aesthetic practice is like. And it's not. You know, we have clinics on Harley Street, we have clinics all over the place, and we are professional, we are industry experts, we are people that have invested, you know, some of us £100,000 into continued, you know, development into our craft. We have, you know, 5-star Google reviews, and we are industry leaders that actually train medics. Yet we are being tarnished with the same brush as people that do backstreet Botox. It's not the case. And, you know, how can we have such a bias overview and vote on this? It just feels very unjust, because I don't see them sharing the posts, and there are many. I've done many corrections from people that have been to nurses, doctors. This is not to slate anyone's work, but there is bad practice across the board, and I am yet to see Save Face posting anything about, you know, a nurse that did this awful thread lift or so on, so on.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, Natasha. I think how I see it from, you know, I'm not a practitioner, you know, so I'm kind of like, I see it all, but I obviously I don't have my own business to kind of push with this. However, I certainly do see that I think it's medical professionals, and like you say, it's then people using unlicensed toxins in their front room with no insurance. Like you guys, for example, you're running businesses, you're successful, you have amazing client bases, you've invested thousands of pounds in your training. It's like that whole chunk is being missed out. And there's this stereotype of the term non-medic, which is completely unfair and untrue.
It's what they call us as beauticians. So there's different levels. I mean, a beautician would be a beauty practitioner level 2. A beauty therapist would be level 3. When you go on to level 4, you're actually an aesthetic practitioner, but they're actually trying to class us all as beauticians. There's nothing against beauticians whatsoever, but they are using that as a derogatory term, really. And as in, you know,
it's also really important to highlight the fact that PAPA is not about being anti-medic. It's not about creating a fight with medic versus non-medic. It's about equality. It's about discrimination. It's about fairness. And it's about being seen and valued for the great practitioners that we really are out there. We don't want to fight with medics. It's not a us versus them in the sense that we want this, but unfortunately we are being pushed to justify ourselves based on the unfair things that are being published by the likes of JCCP, and that we're unable to kind of defend. And that is one of the core goals of PAPA, is to create an environment that is equal and to be a voice for those people that, you know, that number one, don't know about this, like you say, don't have the confidence to do this. We're talking thousands of people's businesses, jobs, livelihoods, you know, the money that they use to feed their families. And we are not being seen fairly in this whole process.
We're also talking about the public as well, because the public, you know, they should have a choice on who they choose to be their practitioner. And many of my clients come to me because they trust me, they know me, they have been to doctors and nurses, and maybe they don't want to go to them anymore. So out of all of this, the public should have a choice. And possibly what they don't realise, as soon as it becomes a medic-only industry, if that's the way it goes, then the prices are just going to absolutely skyrocket, because they'll have a monopoly.
And
on the
to
whole
be honest,
industry.
it also doesn't mean that they're getting a better service. Absolutely not.
No.
I have clients, I have so many nurses, I have a GP client, I have surgeon clients. And so it's, you know, there's a lot of people that really respect what we do in this profession, and we are just being completely, we're not being heard.
I think we all have doctors and nurses who come to us. I mean, I'm next door to a hospital. I treat loads and loads of doctors and nurses. So, I mean, that must say something.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that if you are a nurse or a doctor, you actually know that you don't learn this on a nursing course. You don't learn how to inject. You don't learn how to fix an aesthetic complication. Even Dr. Tim himself posted something. Let me bring that up. He posted something which was to advertise his course, and it said that many doctors go and do a one-day course and leave absolutely incapable of injecting. And that's, we have that there. He wrote that himself. So it shows, we have spent hours and hours on continued professional development to hone these skills. We also work 100% of the time seeing clients after clients after clients. Whereas if you're working for the NHS, are you doing one day a week?
Yeah.
Who is more experienced, really?
Yeah.
I did a survey on one of my groups, and actually most of the HCPs, they just do it part-time, 1 or 2 days a week. They have 2 jobs, and they don't prioritize aesthetics, whereas I do it on a everyday, weekly basis, as many of you do. So we do have as much experience, if not more experience, than some of those.
Rachel, for you to share what David said about the NHS staff.
Yeah, so when I went to the conference, I did just actually ask him what would, if they're going to have all of this clinical oversight, what would happen? What would happen to the NHS? And he said, yes, it was true. It would be a hemorrhage, a colossal hemorrhage for NHS. And he also said that you, meaning every single medic in that room, because they were nearly all medics, there was only 2 who weren't. He said, you can all go out tomorrow and set up a new business providing clinical oversight for practitioners. And that was his exact words. And there's actually a video of that as well from the conference. So
if people think they're waiting 2 to 4 weeks now for a GP appointment, good luck trying to find a GP appointment or a nurse appointment when we're not around and all your NHS staff are doing lips.
Yeah. And with regards to the clinical oversight as well, with the interview that Maxine McCarthy did with David Saenz, what I got from that was there's not going to be a special prescribing aesthetics course that a prescriber will have to do. So with regards to the clinical oversight, obviously it's extremely vague. We don't actually know what that means, but would it be useful to have a prescriber on site who doesn't know how to use hyaluronidase, or doesn't know how to use lidocaine, or doesn't know how these treatments actually work?
Useful as going into A&E and asking for, somebody to deal with vascular occlusion. None of them have a clue what to do. They don't even stop on site to be able to deal with the vascular occlusion. And what we're also forgetting is the fact that with medical oversight will come trouble for nurses who are non-prescribers.
Yeah, that's true as well. The other thing is all of the treatments on that list, or many of the treatments on that list, they're not just about Botox and fillers, which nurses do tend to dominate. That is what they more or less go into. I'd like to also say I do electrolysis, and I remove lots of benign lesions for people, which the NHS don't do at the moment, and that is under AMBER. And if you need clinical oversight for that, who is going to provide that? Because hardly any nurses do that. And then many other treatments they don't do as well.
Yeah, similar for permanent makeup. I mean,
do we think
yeah,
if I do permanent makeup, specialised in permanent makeup for 5 years, I cannot see a nurse or doctor wanting to come into my environment and clinically oversee permanent makeup that they have absolutely no idea about, full stop.
And I think we also, they try and coin this term medical aesthetics when it's not actually medical aesthetics. I'm sorry, but having your lips done is not the same as having a vasectomy. It's not an operation. It's very much a body enhancement, like having a tattoo, like having a piercing. I can't remember the last time anyone died from having lip filler. I think that, SPMU is very much a beauty-based treatment. And I just think there's all these treatments that are being moved over into something that actually, is into another industry.
Yeah. Just touching on clinical oversight again, do we think that potentially could be the point as to why that is being said, that no one's going to be able to actually get that clinical oversight? Is that why they've said that? No one's going to
regulatory board. So the regulatory boards already advise the people on their registration not to prescribe or give oversight for non-medics.
Yeah.
So when it comes about, really, there's going to be absolutely no chance of anybody getting clinical oversight unless those regulatory bodies decide to change their minds, and they will give us oversight. But in a way, I see it as actually a method of sneakily removing us from being able to do treatments, and that's what it comes down to. Yes, you can do them, it's no problem. Oh, we'll just throw in that you do need clinical oversight. Oh, and by the way, you need clinical oversight, but actually we're not going to recommend to anybody that they do that.
But
so then
qualify for that oversight? Who is the group of people who will be qualified to receive that medical oversight? So clearly nurses, non-prescribers will not. Or will they? Are we going to? What does JCCP stand? It stands for Joint Council for Cosmetic Procedures. So cosmetic procedures are also divided into surgical and non-surgical. We perform non-surgical cosmetic procedures. So what is going to be our qualification then? Is it going to be different to a nurse who's a non-prescriber?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, you know, if somebody's a midwife and they do their aesthetics training, does that mean that someone like that would have to oversee someone who's been in the industry for 10 years, got a clinic on Harley?
We were talking a lot about this in the group last night. Do nurses in general realise that unless they are a prescriber, that they also may fall into this category?
I don't think they do, actually. I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't think they need oversight. I think it says they don't need oversight.
They will be able to qualify to being medics. They will be able to qualify BTCT level 7 to then receive the oversight. But us, as a non-medical professionals, we are not given that choice.
Yeah.
We have the choice. It's been wobbled over our eyes to say that the off-call level 7 is going to be it. You've got that safety net, and many people invested lots of money into it as well. We looked into it. We went to register with off-call, and we decided that we're not going to offer this training because we very well realized that it's not going to stand, and it's not a safety net unless there is a level 7 or whatever they want to call it is accepted for the beauty therapists with years of experience like ourselves, and then thousands and thousands of hours. Others, we will not be able to remain on the market with this. You know,
and this just doesn't seem to really go with the JCCP's statement on their website of equality of opportunity.
I'd just like to mention something there. So their equality of opportunity, actually, the research that we've been doing this morning, the people who are on the JCC board and also a lot of the members are people who are really vehemently anti-non-medic, and a lot of them actually do have fake profiles on Facebook, and they do actually troll a lot of us on Facebook. They are absolutely awful. And the other thing is doing that, because they're all doctors. I mean, I can give you some names. Lisa Godfrey, she uses a different name on Facebook. Dr. Lisa Dinley, Gareth Locke, he's another one. Stephen Land, he's the most notorious for doing this. Miranda Hodgkin, they all troll us. They are all members of a JCCP.
What kind of things are they saying with these trolling?
Oh, they're just putting up, you know, silly photographs, you know, like, oh, this is done by a medic, and then they show, you know, this is done by a non-medic, and there's a lot of kind of, I think they call them memes going on, whereby it's just being really derogatory about us. It's difficult to describe exactly what they're doing, but also Gareth Locke is actually going on to a lot of Facebook groups, and he's pretending to be a non-medic, and he's pretending to ask questions, to ask people out, to catch people out. And he's actually done that to me, and I didn't fall for it. But he is in a lot of groups doing that, pretending to be a non-medic, asking really silly questions, and then trying to catch other non-medics out to say something, so that's more evidence.
And I wonder, Rachel, whether the reason that they set up these fake profiles, and we know behind them, is because actually they are breaching their code of conduct.
They are.
See, so from the GM perspective, it clearly states in there that they should not online bully on social media platforms. They are all doing that.
Yeah, and Steve Brand, he's in interviews at CCR with David Signs, and he is, well, not openly, he's not doing it openly, but we know that he is behind Aesthetics Angel, and we know the things that he's been putting out there, and yet David Signs is entertaining him on the stage at CCR.
And I have to say, we don't do this back. We don't set up profiles to show some quite awful work. There is bad work everywhere. And we just feel like it's so unfair that these people who clearly have an agenda have a right over our futures, over our businesses, our livelihoods. It just seems insane.
And with people from all different walks of life, in aesthetics. So there is an ophthalmologist. So they came from ophthalmology into aesthetics by attending the same courses that we have attended, or we have offered to, to beauty therapists and ophthalmologists and doctors and nurses, all the same courses. So what is the difference from which path you came from? We came from beauty therapy. We studied skin in depth. We studied anatomy in depth, a lot more than an ophthalmologist would. So it's just the different paths that we came from into the same courses to receive exactly the same qualifications and knowledge as everybody who is in this aesthetic business right now.
For example, a chiropodist wouldn't need oversight. A chiropodist.
They would mental health now nurse wouldn't need
oversight.
Yeah.
No.
And beauty therapists will have a lot deeper knowledge. And myself, if you look at my reviews, I've got many reviews on my website, and it especially goes to my training, not the clinical work, because we specialize in training. And we have probably 25% of medics who trained with us and who then booked with us to have one-to-one training. And they said that the knowledge was superior because we invested into our knowledge. And they came to learn from us. Now they are allowed to practice, and we're not. They're allowed to go into level 7 and continue, but we are not.
And you're the one that are teaching these people. And
I'm the one who was teaching these people. My prescribers, apart from 2, are the people whom I trained.
Crazy. It is. It's crazy. And I think it's important to state here, PAPA wants regulation. We want regulation. We do, but we want fairness, and we want to be seen and heard. I don't know with the JCCP, the original consultation, I think we identified that there was absolutely no non-medic representation in the whole process. Was that right, Rachel?
I think there was some beauty representation, but not aesthetic practitioner representation, and it's two completely different things.
I think that Maxine, at some point, she was invited in on the talks, as was the guy, and I can't remember his name, from A Training, quite a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago, but then they decided against having them. So that at one point was a non-medic aesthetics representation, but then they decided that they wouldn't take part. So it has just been beauty, really.
Yeah, and I think
I would like to see more representation, though, from people who have nothing to financially gain, people that aren't selling courses, level 7 courses, that we've already been told are not going to be worth the paper they're written on. I'd like to see more representation from people that have nothing to gain.
Well, that's not going to happen, though, is it? That's the whole purpose of this. Yeah. Really, when you open it all out, the underlying driving factor is money and not patient safety.
Yes. It's worth mentioning the annual report from the JCCP, which obviously you can get online. There's a number of different organisations who have actually, in quotations, donated money to the JCCP For those of you who don't know, the JCCP is actually a charity. It's private, it's not government funded. The likes of Tioxane, £7,500, Mert, £10,000, Church Pharmacy, £7,000, Transform, £5,000, Harley Academy, £2,500, Allergan, £10,000, Galderma, £10,000, Clinicept, £2,000, Hamilton Fraser, £6,000, and Skin, £20,000. It would be too much of a coincidence that the JCCP do advertise these companies. So all it is really, in my opinion, is advertising, isn't it? You know, they're investing money in the JCCP for advertising.
But also not just for advertising, you know, they are monopolizing the industry. This is a targeted attack on small businesses, and they are monopolizing, you know, this skin clinics, private equity backed. Rollout being achieved at some pace. Let me read this to you. 6 acquisitions completed in 18 months. They now have over 100 dermatology outlets, had added cosmetic surgery and dentistry to their portfolios, and an acquisition of B2B laser equipment. We did wonder why laser was on there. And investment to improve the company's offering. This has created a business capable of 100 million plus revenue. But, you know, there's a skin in, there's one where I live, I think there's about 100 in the country. Yeah. And what happens when all of these small businesses, all these other aesthetic clinics that are non-medic led, shut down? Who is going to dominate? It's these big chains, and, you know, money talks. And these are the people that are funding the tabloid propaganda, and it's an absolute conspiracy to wipe out small businesses.
I think as well, some of the conversations that we've had, certainly you, Nat, with people that you know that own various pharmacies, you know, various training academies, whatever, there are a lot of people that are actually on side with us but are being shushed because of the contracts that they have within their business that involve the kind of medic side of things, that they feel like have a voice with us because it will have a direct impact on their business. And that's also really bad to witness, that we have got people from, I'm talking large organisations, you know, large pharmacies that are saying, you know, guys, we really are with you, but unfortunately our business has to come first, therefore we can't be with you effectively.
Because they're thrown out of equation with the medics. If they support non-medics, they can't participate in.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, they're not allowed to attend CCR. They're not allowed to, you know, to promote themselves at various events. And, you know, if that's not discrimination, what is? And they feel that they have to roll with this because they're worried that their business will be sanctioned in some way.
And I do feel that that is a large part of the community also with non-medics that have their own business, is the fear behind speaking up. You know, we've got a team of people and we're prepared to do that. But even I know myself, certainly, because I work with certain brands that now only take on non-medics, and they supply me with a large proportion of my monthly income. To a degree, I was like, do I go public? Do I speak? Do I support Papa? Because if I do, then my business could be in jeopardy because they may not want me to work with them anymore on that side. So I think there's so much of that that's going on behind as well, which leaves people just completely confused and scared to speak.
Yeah, but also I think that there'll be thousands of practitioners who are like, you know, where can I raise my voice? Is me saying something even going to have an effect?
Something I did worry about, because we are just small fish. Even, you know, how many members have we got now? You know, not so many. We've probably got 300 or 400 members now. It is building every day, but
we have got 1,500 members on our Voices group. So
yeah, we have. But in comparison to them, when we collect in the membership fees, you know, I'm not being negative here. I'm being completely realistic. Can we compete with these big guys? If you can just make a donation like that of £20,000 or £10,000 or, you know, £7,000, How can we compete with these people who, some of the biggest medical companies in the country, and they've got billions.
We want to compete, we want to stand our ground, and we want to fight our little corner that we rightly deserve. That's all we want to do.
Yes. And
also, if there's any businesses, supporting businesses, we work with a lot of supporting businesses, insurance companies, waste management. There are so many industries that are really going to feel the economic brunt of this. Get in touch, because it's not just us that will suffer. It's all the businesses that support us, from our aesthetic wholesalers. The list is endless.
Thermal filler suppliers, a lot of the people who supply us now, they will be going out of business.
Companies that make lasers, Morpheus. The list is endless. Because
and everybody who does training. Yeah.
I was speaking to a pharmacy owner the other day, and they said 80% of our business comes from non-medics.
But it's what they promote. Is the discrimination is a big word, isn't it? But we are so discriminated. Medics are allowed to go onto our training. We are not allowed in the conferences. We are not allowed. CCR is coming up. Not one single non-medic is allowed to attend and listen, but they shout that they're for the safety. So how is that if we are not allowed to listen to maybe, some professionals in the business who've been doing aesthetics for many, many years? We want to hear them. We want to learn from them as well, just as much as they want to learn from us. So it's an exchange of the knowledge. That's what builds the safety in this business, in this profession, in aesthetics.
And I think that's a really key point. We are working completely legally, insured in the eyes of the law. And we are so discriminated against. I don't know of another industry, and this goes with any sort of discrimination, whether it's due to sex, colour, whatever, we're being discriminated because of our professions, where you're not allowed to into a room because you're different, and you don't. It just seems so unjust.
Those medics that have been trained by non-medics will stand in the future. So like Leana's got a very successful training academy and trains medics day in, day out. How is that qualification going to stand, given that she's a non-medic that has trained that medic? So that's okay?
Well, I've seen this pop up now and again lately. There has been a statement that medics, if they attended a training that is not given by a medic, will not qualify. So that will be disregarded. That CPD training that they attended will not count as their CPD, because
that's just instantly saying, like, without even the training being looked at, that it's not good enough because a non-medical practitioner conducted it, which is wrong.
We are here for equality. Ultimately, we are here to be seen, heard, valued, and seen and valued. We are that goal, and we've tried to not make it really negative, because then we're just being like them. But behind the scenes, we're gathering evidence left, right, and centre from all of the the stuff that we found and that we have had personal experience in dealing with. But we are leaving that for our legal team.
Obviously there'll be so many people watching this who will be like, oh my gosh, I'm really pleased that this conversation's happened, and Papa can be the voice that I don't have. What advice do you ladies give to anyone watching in terms of what they can do moving forward? How can they join Papa? Obviously, the questionnaire needs to be filled out. So if you've not done that, do it, because you've got about 2 or 3 weeks left. But what can people be doing now?
I think ultimately that you're always going to have people that are prepared to be the driving force behind things like we are here, that have got the confidence to do so. But, firstly, by joining Papa, our membership fee is £50 for the year, and we will be very transparent about where that money gets spent. The majority of this fee is probably going to go into legals, advertising, spreading the word, etc. But we cannot do this without the support financially. ultimately that is what will drive our success. So join Papa for sure, the Facebook group. We're on all different socials. We're on Instagram, you know, we've got Facebook group, etc. And your support can be as big or as little. You know, yes, there's a membership fee, but liking our posts, inviting your colleagues to be part of it, showing people that there is a platform for them to feel safe and voice their opinions, you know, liking, sharing content, tagging content. For us, it's about spreading the word. We need to scatter this out to as many people as possible, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that don't even know that this is going on. And with a small team of people trying our hardest to be that voice.
Yeah, a lot of people are pacified with the level 7 of wall at the moment, thinking that they're safe, but little do they know they're not. And that's the bottom line. No, the people need to be aware of what is going on. People need to join. We need to be together. This is the idea of Baba, to be together, to fight our right.
Yeah. What I would say, though, I think it's important to highlight to anyone who currently is undertaking their level 7 or who has undertaken their level 7, it's still a positive thing. You know, yes, it may not stand. Yes, there may be changes to the qualification that are outlined by the government, but I still strongly believe that doing that qualification will make you an all-rounded better practitioner.
It will, but they just might not be able to do the treatments that they think they're going to do. So
yeah, it's at what cost, isn't it? It's at what cost to these people that are getting themselves into debt, you know, that they are financially risking the fact that they may get to the end of it and it's like, it's still a no. Sorry, it's a no.
Yeah. What's next for you ladies then? So what plans do you have in place with Papa in terms of, you know, it's all well and good liking and sharing and stuff, but what are you going to be doing to help?
Well,
everybody?
we really want to challenge this whole consultation process, because we do feel that it's very biased. We don't feel like you can make a decision on something without clarification of the terms. I don't even know if that's really legal. If they're not going to tell us what clinical oversight is, you've got people voting on something and they haven't got a clue what they're voting for.
And I think ultimately our legal team, so we have now got a legal team on board, and you know, we're just a group of people just trying to fight. Some days we have no idea what we're doing. If we're honest, you know, we're making great moves behind the scenes. I think ultimately for us, if we could get some kind of extension, great. But we are, I mean, our WhatsApp groups start at, I think Natasha's normally the first in there at like, I don't think she sleeps. I think it's like 4 a.m. It's not stop until like 1 a.m. in the morning. And you think you've got a team of like admin, like 10, 12 of us, putting 12 hours in a day. That's a huge amount of time. You know, we've got Zooms going on behind the scenes. We've got meetings with legal teams. We've got evidence-based people. We've got so many different people doing so many different jobs. And ultimately, we are just trying to create a platform where we are heard.
I think ultimately we want representation. We want representing in these talks. We want to be there, so deciding the futures of people like us. We also want an access to let's say an equality of opportunity to the level 7, the VTCT one that medics are allowed to do. If we don't pass it, give us time to upskill. If we don't pass, then you can't do it. It's fair as fair. We just want to be heard, you know, and it's at the moment, we've just got these people who haven't even picked up a needle themselves, don't inject, deciding our futures.
Yeah, it is wild, isn't it? It really, really is.
The aim is not to be discriminated against and to have to have our stand. This is what it's all about. It's to be able to protect our future and be heard. At the moment, we've not even been given a chance to speak, and there was no speaker. There was no representation. But now this is our representation, and this is where we all together we need to make a stand, and we need to be heard. This is the main aim.
Yeah, I think so, the point that was raised earlier around clients is so important to remember as well. You build up these relationships with your clients who've been coming to you for years. I know when I go to my injector, it's like a therapy session. I look forward to that appointment, not only for my treatments, but for the service, for the experience, for the fact that I can just relax. And someone just rips that away from me. It's not fair.
And that's isn't it, Holly? It's like, where is the client consultation in all of this process?
Yeah.
If patients say the ultimate goal, and we can prove, like Nat said earlier, nobody ever died of having lip filler, so is this really about patient safety? Because if so, why the hell haven't patients or clients been consulted in the process?
Yeah.
Where's their voice?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, because we'll probably be pulled apart on everything we say. So on the comment of no one died from having lip filler, I'm sure people have had adverse reactions to dissolving and whatnot, as we know. But we also know that we are more trained and more equipped to treat these complications of vascular occlusion than if you go to the hospital. They're not trained to treat these things.
Yeah, and it goes
I actually
to
think
what you were
most
saying.
people have been far safer with a complication with an aesthetics practitioner.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying around there being classed as medical aesthetic treatments. Well, if it was a medical aesthetic treatment, hyaluronidase would be kept in hospitals, would it not?
Yep.
So aside from the questionnaire then, which obviously everybody should be doing, whether it's your clients, whether it's your family, your friends, every single person should be filling this in. How can everybody get more information on PAPA? And also, what do you think practitioners should be sort of doing in preparation for anything that might be coming? Because at the moment, everyone just seems really anxious, which isn't helpful for anyone.
I think people will continue to be anxious until things are clarified. We don't have an overview of what clinical oversight looks like. Are we going to get that at any stage? I don't know. So I think the nervousness is going to be there for a while. I think certainly, like we've already said, join the PAPA group. There's the membership there. We've got socials and websites being built as it stands at the moment, and it's a shame that at this moment we can't give you a website to go over to, but it is in the background being built.
I think also our main message is say no to clinical oversight and say no to the traffic light system, because there's a lot of treatments that shouldn't be in certain categories. PDO threads, something that I specialize, for example, is in the red category, a treatment that I would no longer be able to provide if this comes into play, which is ludicrous, because I've surgeons messaging me yesterday saying, can you help with this? Can you help with this? I don't know how to do this. And it's something that I have solely studied and really excel in. And it's actually a very safe treatment. PDO threads are non-toxic. They're absorbable by the body. There's no risk of a vascular occlusion. And this tells me that when I look at this traffic light system, that the people that drew this up actually have no clue about aesthetic practice. And this is where things like when we look at this investment by skin clinics who offer these treatments that have been moved into amber, and you wonder why, you're thinking these are very safe treatments, these are very low risk, these are essentially beauty treatments, and there's financial gain.
I don't imagine that the medical practitioners will be doing hairdressers work, will be doing waxing work, because all of those procedures, they can cause complications such as anaphylactic shock. Are they then trying to monopolize that as well? But obviously they don't want that side of the beauty industry.
There's not enough money in it for them.
Yeah, someone said the other day, you get more reactions from like eyelash dye than come across vascular.
Yes, will they be doing nails? Will they be doing lashes? I mean, it's all the same, and there are more reasons, and more chances of the anaphylactic shock from those treatments.
Yeah.
I think when we first heard about licensing and everyone said, yes, this is great, we welcome this, we thought it would be the introduction of in equal opportunity level 7, or, you know, we thought it would be licensing, come check our premises, come check that we, you know, we have waste disposal, we're using the correct products, all of these things that could really safely regulate this industry. And it's all really that is needed, having a prescriber on hand, having real qualifications. This seems a step too far and actually really detrimental to the whole industry.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
what will happen is that they will simply push all aesthetics under the ground.
Yeah.
There will be black cosmetology, there will be black aesthetics going on, because people will need this to provide for their children. You know, there are thousands and thousands of women, single women, you know, with children, who are relying solely on what they invested a lot of money into to become professional, and they will be the people who will suffer. There will be women on the street,
and I think
pay the bills.
Drive that black market, because they will not be paying the prices that doctors are going to be claiming for these treatments. They're going to still want their treatments, so therefore they will go somewhere.
And the rise in illegal toxins, that will worsen, because all the small wholesalers will be out of business. The big farmers will only prescribe to, obviously, the medics, and people are going to be importing dodgy stuff from China and wherever else.
Yeah, people will start doing it at home themselves.
And
I've seen YouTube videos of that, you know.
Beauty therapists who are using, you know, the Botox and toxins from unspecified pharmacy. It's being used across by medics as well. And now, how many times I've been to the medical practices and I've seen Botox in their disposable bins, and you know, it's a bit hypocritical to say that it's only beauty therapy. And I'm sure there are some who will use illegal substances, but there are also medics who do. Medics use these.
I mean, there was an article recently about a doctor who was caught using illegal toxin. But these things aren't shared in the same way.
I didn't know that.
Slightest hiccup. But what you've also got to remember is, you know, there's a lot more aesthetic practitioners than medics. And so, you know, they're sharing such a small amount of things, but there are millions of successful aesthetic treatments happening all the time. You know, it's such a big industry that these odd complication that can happen to a medic and non-medic are very, very few and far between.
But the statistics.
I just wanted to say that the other thing that hasn't really been mentioned is that people do have leases on properties as well, and premises and training academies. And my lease is actually 10 years. And if I can't work, I still have to pay that lease.
That's going to be domino effect. It's not just for us at first instance. There are pharmacists for supplying us. Then there are, you know, the accountants for dealing with our accounts. There are, you know, the buildings in towns that we occupy. So the landlords, landladies will be affected by this change. There is a, you know, a lot wider spread of people who will get affected.
And the other thing as well is bounce back loans. We still have probably 2 years of bounce back loans for a lot of people that have businesses that took them during the COVID pandemic. You know, what happens to the millions or billions of pounds that are still owed on stuff like that? You know, that stuff is just crazy.
Yeah. And all the leases on, you know, leases on all these laser equipment, some of the equipment's £120,000 for one piece of equipment. People have got leases and personal guarantees on these pieces of equipment.
Yeah, I think these are all points which are so important for you guys as Papa to raise and to, I don't want to say promote, that's probably the wrong word, but to put forward, because these are all things that practitioners will be thinking about, probably listening to this conversation, thinking like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that machine that I haven't even paid off yet. You know, if I can't do these treatments, what will happen to that? But we need to also remember nothing is set in stone yet. So now is the time where these conversations should be happening. You know, everyone should be sticking together and, you know, join Papa, for example, so you feel you can get that support, because the industry is a very lonely place, and I know that from speaking to practitioners on a daily basis. I think a lot of people feel incredibly alone. Perhaps, you know, your family doesn't quite understand what you're doing and what the industry is. So I think the more support that we can give out, and, you know, everyone can provide for each other, will just make this really quite anxious time a little bit easier to get through.
Yeah, for sure. And things like, you know, Holly, thank you for inviting us onto this podcast, because, you know, as a result of it, 95,000 emails are going to be sent, and if we can help just even 5-10% of those people, you know, feel not alone or raise awareness, or, you know, any of those things, then we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the main questions which you've been getting asked from your members, and what are the main kind of points of concern have people got? Is it generally just, you know, I'm potentially not going to be able to work anymore, you know, the things that we've covered?
I think it's confusion, like what's covered, what's not covered, what does it look like, you know, what does clinical oversight look like, all of those things. I think that, you know, the constant questions of, am I included in this, am I not included, I do this treatment, I do that treatment, people just generally don't really have a clue.
I think also there's a massive impact on people's mental health. I know that I'm working around the clock. I have 3 businesses to run. I'm working around the clock on this, and I'm hardly sleeping. I feel absolutely exhausted, as I know my whole admin team is. But, you know, at least we feel like we're slightly, you know, we're doing something, and that's motivating us. But there's a lot of people out there that are just, you know, in a blind panic. They are petrified. They're suffering with anxiety. People that feel depressed, they feel demotivated, they're cancelling training because they think, what's the point? There's just this whole feeling of being in limbo, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
we had a full week of training last week, and our trainees, they don't know whether they, yes, like you rightly said, they're cancelling the training, they're not sure what they're doing. Some of them just simply are not realizing the seriousness of this situation since it's been announced.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are.
They say, oh, right, I'm doing level 7, I'm okay, I'll be fine. And when I talk in depth and try to explain that actually you may not be all right, they start thinking, yes, they do, and they join Papa.
Yeah, I think a lot of people as well are sitting back, you know, letting other people do the questionnaire, kind of being quite naive, thinking, oh, you know, it's been going on for years, but no, I think everyone needs to have their say what you think.
I think as well, there is
but they don't understand the fact that, you know, they're filling out that questionnaire, some of them saying that, yes, that's great, I am for the change, I want this change, because they believe, because they've got that level 7 or on the way of achieving level 7, they now need to fill the questionnaire to vote for the change. But they're not realizing that the change in the white system is actually working against them. So this is all a massive lie. People have been blinded, and that's what they need to understand. The truth needs to be unveiled, and people need to understand their positioning.
Yeah, I think we agreed as well, didn't we, that we were going to do a video on how to complete the form, because I think there's a lot of confusion. I think a lot of people are sitting silent because they don't actually understand how to complete the form.
Yeah,
they think, right, the change is coming, this is going to be regulated, so that Joe next door is going to get shut because she doesn't have insurance, so because I have insurance I'll be fine. But this is a lot deeper than that, and this is what people are not realizing.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize, you know, and even the public don't realize that when they see all these things, and when they do the consent form, they are not voting on these people that are doing dodgy illegal Botox. They're voting on ours, educated, experienced, industry experts, people that have clinics on your local high street. How many businesses have already been shut down? How many empty shops are there? And there will be more if this happens.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It goes back to what we were saying about it's medics in one pile, backstreet illegal Botox in another pile. And
you know, also let's talk about the impact of that on the NHS, like we've already mentioned. if this field is taken away from aesthetic practitioners like us, people will, number one, go and train in the NHS. They'll go and do their nurses qualification, purely so that they can progress onto aesthetics. We have proof of this. We have screenshots of, we have statements from people who are doing that for that reason, that are training in the NHS purely so that they can exit and do aesthetics because it's more lucrative.
We will remain positive. We're here. We're doing these things, like Natasha said. You know, we're working round the clock around things like families, work, our own clinics, all of those things. And we are here just trying to do our best for the people.
So, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. I've absolutely loved this conversation, albeit quite bittersweet conversation. Anybody who's watching, all of the information will be in the description for Papa. I'll put obviously these ladies' links as well. If you've got any questions, any concerns, anything you just want to have a chat, my DMs are open. I'm sure these ladies will be as well. If you want further information on how Papa can support you and how you can support Papa as well to help with these regulations and what's coming into play, and, you know, have your say, then please just drop any of us a message. So
thank you, Holly, for having us on. And yeah, if anyone just heads over to our social media, and we'll be uploading a few videos on how you can help us, how you can get involved.